To what extent are European countries willing to sacrifice national sovereignty so as to help improve the European Union?
There are differences. There are countries that are more willing to do it, others that are resisting to it. I believe it's very important to win that debate, showing that sharing sovereignty is not reducing the power of each country. This is very important to understand. Why? Because we are in the age of globalization, and today, even the biggest countries in Europe, like Germany or France or Britain or Italy, on their own, they simply have not the means to compete in the same league. If I may use an expression from the football, they are not in the same league of the United States of America or China. I mean, what can a country with 60 million or even 80 million people do facing one that has 1.2 or 1.3 billion people? That's why I think there is not a fundamental contradiction between the national interest and the European interest. So, and the countries, they enhance their power. More important than this formal concept of sovereignty is the substantive concept of power and influence. I'm not proposing the countries to have less power or influence. No, they need, I understand, to project their interests. But we can do it better in Europe if we do it collectively. Because in that case, the country that uses the European Union also for defend its interests and promote its values is doing it with the first trade bloc in the world. It's Europe. Europe has many problems, but Europe is a very important global economy. And so I think we have to make the case, and so that we have to convince those that are more reluctant that by sharing sovereignty, they don't lose power. On the contrary, they gain influence and they can better protect the national interest.
What should the EU do and the EU member states to maximize the benefits of immigration and try to minimize the negative effects?
The basic thing is education and training. We in Europe need more migrants. I know that is not very popular to say it, but that's the truth. We have what I've called a demographic winter. Europe is becoming older and older. And we need more input in terms of work, and also we need people that can pay afterwards for the social security, to assure the social security sustainability. At the same time, there are in our societies resistance to a big influx of migrants that are sometimes from other ethnic groups or from other religion. And that is a serious challenge because it can be used by extremists or chauvinists, sometimes xenophobic political forces that are today finding some room in Europe to expand. Solution is to be open but to integrate the people, to teach them our languages. I think language is very important, so that they can communicate. If possible, give them training. Some of them already come with some level of training and education, but others not. So make it a win-win. And so from that point of view, we can do something that is morally sound, and I think it's our duty to receive the refugees. It's a humanitarian duty, but at the same time, it is also in our, let's call it, enlightened self-interest, because we are given more opportunities of growth to our economies.
What are the greatest frustrations, but also the greatest happinesses, pleasures, which derive from being at the head of the EU Commission?
Now, during 10 years leading the European Commission, 2 mandates, I had great moments, and I'm proud of all of them, including the most difficult ones, because I think Europe has shown its resilience. When many people were predicting the Brexit, they were predicting the end of the euro or a fundamental disaster with the euro. In fact, we have resisted. Sometimes it was frustrating. So if you ask what was your frustration, the time it took. We have to take sometimes too much time in Europe because, of course, we are democracies and the different governments have different perspectives. But at the end, it was possible to come to a consensus. So my frustration is that we were not bold enough, strong enough, and quick enough in our answer. But my satisfaction is to see that Europe has, contradicting its critics, shown once again its resilience, its capacity to keep things going, its capacity to resist. And in fact, we have created new things. We are now stronger at European level than we were before. The banking union, nobody was predicting a banking union before the crisis. Now we have, not yet complete, but we have the most important elements of a banking union. We have more powers for the European Commission, new rules of the governance of the euro area, we have a European stability mechanism. So what happened was that the crisis was used for European integration also to become more institutionalized, namely in the Eurozone, and we need that if you want to keep a common currency. So I'm proud of that. If you want to know, the moment I was probably the happiest was when I had the honor, together with my colleagues, on behalf of the European Union, to receive the Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo in 2012. Because it shows and it reminds us that the European Union is not just an economic project. It's about values, about the value of peace, democracy, of course, rule of law, but above all, peace in our continent.